Hey folks, in this video we're going to go through the syllabus for our Chem 109 course. So here we are in the middle page. I'm going to scroll down to Getting Started. And you've already done this because you're watching the video. Alright, and so now we're going to take a look at the syllabus. So I'm going to click on the PDF file, open it up in a new tab, and here's the syllabus for our course, which of course you can download if you so choose. So the basic information here, of course, my office, since this is an online course, more than likely you are not going to be visiting me in my office, but if you would like to do that, just let me know. Here's my office phone number. You can leave a message if I'm not there. Best way to communicate with me is email or Teams chat, which you can go through online. My virtual office hours are listed here from 2 to 3:30 on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you choose to meet with me, if you can't meet with me during those times, just let me know and we'll work to schedule other times to meet. This will be through Teams, which I have explained in another video. And then, of course, our class is asynchronous online. So I'm just going to scroll through here. There's a bunch of quotes that you can choose to read on your own time and click on the links to learn a little bit more about the people involved. I'm sure you know who Albert Einstein is, but you may not know Mark Watney from the movie The Martian as a character in the movie. And Richard Feynman, one of the most famous and important physicists of the 20th century, is also not as widely known, certainly, as Albert Einstein. So I'm just going to scroll through all this stuff. You can read this on your own. I don't want to spend time here talking about it. The textbook, of course, which is available digitally, is Physical Science. We will be referring to this textbook periodically, and also we'll be looking at some of the problems and examples from that textbook. Most of the information of the course is going to be available through videos that I've recorded in Moodle, and you can find more about that by viewing the video on the Moodle structure in this particular module. Now, let's get down to the stuff that you're most interested in. One is, of course, grading. How are you going to be graded in this course? I use a methodology called ungrading. It has been shown through multiple studies that the traditional grading structure for courses A, B, C, D, etc. tends to actually pose a barrier to learning. When the grade becomes more important than learning the concepts, you actually don't learn. And there have been many studies that have shown this. So in this particular course, I'm going to be using ungrading. There will be a grade at the end of the course, and there certainly are assignments that you must complete during the course. But rather than actually presenting a grade for each assignment, what I will be doing is providing feedback for those assignments. I will be asking you periodically, certainly at the midterm, and then again at the end of the session, I'm going to be asking you to construct and write a reflection on your work. And that reflection will include you addressing these bullet points here as you go through it. Did you complete the work? How would you assess your quality of your work? Did you watch the videos that I have provided in the Moodle course? Participated in discussions? And really, have you challenged yourself to work through difficult concepts, to learn as much as possible? Asking questions is something that I consider to be really, really important. And a curious person who wants to learn as much as possible is going to ask questions. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask. Attend the office hours virtually. Shoot me an email. Shoot me Teams chat. If you want to meet virtually at times other than my posted office hours, I can arrange that. So just let me know. But it is important that you ask questions. Then you'll be assessing how much you've learned from the course and reflect on everything that you've done. Have you reflected honestly and critically on these particular questions. I will ask you to assess your work and provide a grade that you would estimate that your work qualifies for, that you've earned through your work. At the end of the session, what I will do is I will be reviewing these reflections and providing you feedback and using your reflection to determine an overall grade for the course. If you actually go through all of these bullet points and answer them honestly with some depth, then as far as I'm concerned, that will earn you a grade of A for the course. So this reflection piece is very important. Certainly if you have any questions about that, let me know. But again, just a reminder, you're going to reflect on all these points, assess a grade for yourself based on your reflection here. I will review your reflection points and the grade you've assigned yourself. I will, of course, be determining the overall grade for the course. But if you do an honest assessment and provide an affirmative response to all of these points, then that qualifies as a grade of A. So what are the assignments for the course? Even though this is an ungrading course, there are assignments and you will be assessed on each of these, and I will provide feedback for each of the assignments. First of all, we have the discussion forums. The discussion forums are going to have questions, and I discuss this in more detail in the video on the Moodle structure, but basic questions about each of the modules that you'll address and respond to your classmates' entries in the discussion forum. The reflections, which are based on the ungrading, reflections are due at the midterm, Friday, June 13th, and the final reflection due the last day of class. And the reflections, as noted earlier, will address the various bullet points here that are in the syllabus, and you will actually provide an estimate of the grade that you think you have earned in the course. And again, to earn a grade of A, you must complete all of the assignments in the course, and you must reflect honestly and affirmatively to each of the bullet points that are in the reflection. Problem sets, these are going to be questions and problems associated with each module. The number vary from module to module. You will be working on these in groups, and I will be assigning groups in Moodle. You will be working in groups on the problem sets as well as the final project on this. So the problem sets, again, are questions based on concepts introduced in the Moodle modules. I would recommend some of these are going to be challenging, so don't hesitate to ask questions if you have any questions about these problems in the problem sets. I will be available to talk to you about these. Quizzes, these are online quizzes that are in Moodle with various questions associated with the different modules. You will be given 3 opportunities to answer the quiz questions correctly. And again, these are generally very straightforward concept-based questions. Very few calculations. Occasionally there will be calculations in the quizzes, but calculations are mostly reserved for the problem sets. And then Labster simulations. The Labster simulations, which again I describe in more detail in my video on the Moodle structure. Labster is a company that actually develops simulations of various laboratory exercises. You will be doing between 1 and generally 3 simulations per module. It depends on the module, it depends on the concepts introduced in the module as to which simulations you will be doing. Again, I discuss this in more detail in my video on Moodle. And then finally, there's a final project, which is due on the last day of class on June 26th. Now, you will choose a topic. So the final project is going to consist of pages in a wiki, and I'm going to have another video describing the wiki and the structure and how you will do that. you'll find this video in Moodle describing all of that. That will consist of pages that summarize your work for the semester and summarize the various concepts introduced in your semester work. It will also have a research topic of your choosing based on some current topic, current research that's done in physics and chemistry. There will be more details in Moodle, but you'll find that I would like the final project topic due by the midterm, which is Friday, June 13th, Friday the 13th. And then the final project itself is due on the very last day of class. So you'll find more details on what should be included in the final project in Moodle, and more details on the wiki and how to actually construct a wiki and do all of that in Moodle. Now, again, this is a course that 5-week courses go by very fast, quickly. If you haven't done a summer course before, be forewarned, you need to keep up. Do not procrastinate. Make sure that you do the work during the assigned week. Don't let it pile up, because you'll fall behind and you'll have a hard time catching up. 5 weeks can go by pretty quickly, and we are trying to cover a semester's worth of material in that 5-week period. So that's the one thing that I want to emphasize: doing the work and don't procrastinate. Ask questions, as I mentioned before, is really, really important. If there's one really significant thing I want you to get out of this course, is to ask questions about how, why, whatever. Just ask questions when you run into something that you're curious about or you need help with. Don't hesitate to ask a question. I will be in the discussion forums actually posing questions for you to answer, as well as giving you an opportunity to ask questions yourselves. So please do that. I can't encourage you enough to do that. All right, so the course structure, this is tentative, although we are probably going to follow this pretty closely, given the fact that it's a compressed course and there's not much opportunity for change. But should I see the necessity of moving in a different direction based on your responses to things, then we will do so. All right, so you'll see that our schedule here is based on the modules which are in Moodle, week 1.1. So again, the way it's structured is you have 4 modules here in week 1, and the dates for week 1. The week generally ends on a Sunday, although some of the assignments are due on Monday. That gives you a chance to, depending on your work schedule, for example, to work through the weekend, and on Monday you can ask questions during my office hours. So you'll see each week, this is week 1, these are the modules you should complete in week 1. Then we have week 2. There are 3 modules in week 2 and the dates for those. And again, go through Moodle. When you get into Moodle, you'll see the modules that I will open up week to week. So right now, week 1 modules are open, but week 2 modules are not open. But they will be open at the beginning of week 2 for you to work on it. So you'll see the dates here and the different modules. And the topics for those different modules, the midterm assignments, which includes your midterm reflection, and so that's due on January 13th through June 13th through June 17th. So the midterm assignments are due June 13th through June 17th, which includes your midterm reflection. And then we continue in week 3 with 3 additional modules where we start to get into atoms and molecules and get into chemistry. And week 4 then has these particular modules here. We're going to get into climate change a little bit, get into nuclear reactions. We may explore some other types of energy. Again, it's going to depend on you and where you are at this point if we change up the modules at all at this particular juncture. And then finally, the final project, your final reflection, and there will be optional Labster exercises are going to be due on the last day of class. And again, all of this is going to be outlined in Moodle in detail, but I do encourage you to ask questions as you're going through that. And then just important dates to note here. Last day to drop the class is going to be May 29th, so that's actually the first week of class. And again, that's because of the accelerated schedule that we have during these summer sessions. As noted, the midterm reflection is due on June 13th. The last day to withdraw from the class is also due on June 13th. And then your final project, of course, is due on June 26th, which is also the last day of class. You'll notice, again, just kind of scrolling back here, at no point do I mention exams. There are no exams in this class. We have quizzes, we have problem sets, we have discussion forums, but there are no exams in this class. So just to be clear on that, to make sure you're aware of that. And then finally, we've got here just basic information about the class, communication, for example, email through Moodle or Teams. And frankly, Teams chat is often the best way to get to me quickly because I get alerted whenever somebody posts something in the Teams chat. And the rest of the stuff about Bellarmine, mission, vision, etc., you can read at your own leisure. So this is the syllabus. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, I want to encourage you to ask questions, but the basic structure outlines the basic structure of the course. And again, for more detail, you'll find much more detail in Moodle about the various assignments. But again, ask questions if you've got them.